Welcome. This is CMG Talk. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Thank you for joining me. It's always great when I hear people giving me feedback on my talks and on my training and podcasting. And today I was doing, quite early this morning, I was doing a training on managing devices and self-care and getting the balance between our, how long we spend on our technical devices, like our mobile phones and our laptops, and making sure that we can switch them off so that we're not spending too much time on them. Often we are prone to presenteeism, where we find that we work more hours than we're paid, and sometimes we have telepressure where we feel as if we can't not answer an email or a text that comes through when it's work related or any other type of communication. We have to answer it there and then. It's good to wait. I tell people that all the time. There are very few things that come through to us that are urgent and imminent and need to be responded to there and then. People say to me, it might be an emergency. Now, some of my work is urgent and critical because of what I do as a psychological worker. I used to work in intensive care, so yes, my work often was critical and I had to respond there and then. But very few communication, very few correspondence has ever needed to be responded to then and there. In fact, most communications, emails, are responded and open to. A work email, it takes only 6 seconds for someone to then feel the desire, need, and feel an urgency to open it. 6 seconds, people. Are you listening to that? People can't hold off longer than 6 seconds. They have to open that email. I'm just saying, right? I go on often about the times where we didn't have mobile phones. Yes, I'm old enough, I know. You're saying you don't sound it, Catherine, but I'm old enough to remember those times we had to go out to a call box to make a phone call because many of us couldn't afford landlines, and where we had to, wait, right, to receive communications. We had to use pen and paper to correspond. And the mobile phone was supposed to make our life easier. We were supposed to have more free time, more personal time, better qualities of life. And we were supposed to be able to do all these wonderful and amazing things with all this time we had that we had managed to gain from having technology. I'm pausing, right? Instead, I hear people talking to me all the time about the workload, the overwork, the burnout, and the stress and strain they have, and the impact it has not just on home life, not just on their health, their high blood pressure perhaps, or the stress and strain with their emotions, right? But also the effects that it has overall on their well-being. Often people find it really difficult not to rely on things, right? People say to me, I go home and I can't wait to just chill out and then I have a drink, and I'm like, that's not really great. You're relying on alcohol to switch off and unwind, right? Or people are constantly gaming, or they're feeling an urge to get this constant dopamine reward system of doing something rather than switching off, relaxing, unwinding and de-stressing, decompressing. I wonder, what's a reasonable time for you to decompress and switch off? If you're still working in employment, do you switch off? And what time do you think in an evening or when you come off shift work do you think is reasonable? And people might say, I don't bring my work home with me. But But I'm talking about, even if you don't physically bring your work home with you, you might work from home, or you might psychologically in your mind have work in your head, whether it's you have a conversation in your head going on that you're ruminating about. Switching off and learning how to switch off is a crucial skill. It's really important to be able to be saying to yourself, I'm going to park that, I'm going to write that down. Having something physically that you can write down what, when, and say to yourself, there's a time and a place to do that. I'm putting it in my next day, my next work day, at this hour, I'll deal with it then, so that your brain and your body can switch off. Letting go. Letting go is what we're talking about. Being able to put things in its place and having that boundary around what you are thinking, what you're dealing with is so important. We often hold on to things unnecessarily. Just the other day, there was a conversation that was had, and I was brought into this conversation. I won't go into too much detail because I want to be respectful of how the conversation came about, but they did say I could share it, so I will, because we were talking about letting go, and it was around a friendship, right? And somebody was talking about this old friend, they called, not necessarily to do with age, they weren't calling them old because of their age. They were saying, I've got this old friend, I've had them for a friend for a very long time, can't quite get my head around what's going on. And there was quite a few people involved in this conversation. And I said, okay, I'm listening. And they said, well, here's the thing. I've been friends with them for a very long time, and I do value the friendship, but I feel as if they're not really available anymore, really. Things have changed a lot. Time has moved on. Our circumstances are very different. And then started painting a picture. And many of us can relate to that in our friendships. That often we meet people, whether it's in school, whether it's in a workplace, whether it's through mutual people, and we're introduced. And then we might move on, we might get a different job, we might go to further education, they might take a different route. But we might feel a connection, enough of a connection with this person that we might keep contact. And if you have somebody that you, over the years that you've invested in their friendship, you might not see them all the time. They might move abroad, but you still might have them on a social media platform. You might still connect with them now and again. And this person was saying, you know, this particular friend, they're not a distance away from me, but it just feels that whenever we talk about meeting up, they cancel last minute. And I said, right, okay. And they said, and I'm not the kind of person that wants to make a big thing about it, yet it feels very uncomfortable because they keep broaching the subject of meeting up. You know, we haven't met up for a while. It feels as if we should meet up. You know, when are you available? And then I get uncomfortable because every time we've arranged it, they then have cancelled late or just not turned up. And I said, oh, that doesn't sound ideal. I said, I wonder, how is that, you know, affecting your thoughts about the relationship? And they said, well, it doesn't feel very respectful, and it feels as if they're not really respecting my time. I'm also beginning to question whether it is a friendship still. So naturally, these thoughts do crop into your mind, don't they? You start wondering, you know, are they busy? You know, is there something else going on? You know, why do they want to meet up if they're not really intending to meet up? What's that about? So I then asked the question, right? You know, the question. I said, have you spoke to them about it? And there was this deep... And I said, oh, what's that? What do you mean? What's that? And they went, no. I said, why not? Well, I can't ask them. I said, why can you not ask them? And they said, oh no, we don't do that. If I ask them, that's going to be awkward. I said, but it's awkward already, is it not? And other people in the conversation were kind of looking at me thinking, oh, I don't know if I would say anything. I said, so let me get this right. You've been friends with this person for a long time. You haven't really met up with them for a long time. They keep asking to meet up, but then they cancel or they don't turn up. And you're rearranging your time, right, to meet up with them. I said, it's either they think that you've got so much available time that you don't mind arranging to meet up with them and for them cancelling, or maybe it's habit for them. They just think, well, you're there, you're a friend, that's what they do. But maybe they then just think you're not really bothered. It's not really that big a deal. And maybe they don't expect you to really be that available. I said, why do you not ask them? They said, I don't know what to say. Suddenly it became a conversation. What do you say to friends if you feel that your friendship isn't really the friendship that you want it to be? Do you say anything? If you're part of a group, do you say anything? If you feel somebody's not investing in your friendship anymore, do you say anything? Or do you just carry on the way things are? Letting go. That's really what the conversation is about. Is there ever a time where you decide it's time to move on, to let go? That you decide that actually the friendship isn't really a friendship that you want to invest in anymore? Because often what people do is they still see you as someone that they put in as a friend, but you're not a friend, an investment friend, if you like. You're not a friend they invest in. There's somebody they're friendly with. They're an acquaintance, really. They associate you as a friend, but you're somebody that's now on the social media platform friend, but they don't necessarily do anything other than like what you do, what you post, but they don't make the time to meet up and engage with you, go out with you, invest time with you. And you wonder, how did I suddenly go from the face-to-face connecting friend to suddenly a social media platform where they give you likes friend? Without even a conversation. And this is what this person was saying. They were saying, it wasn't even something we agreed. I get no conversation. I didn't even get asked about it. I wasn't asked if I was up for that. Suddenly, the Christmas card stopped, right? Suddenly, the birthday card stopped. Suddenly, they were offering to meet up. I don't think they've ever really intended to meet up with me, but I still took it seriously. I said, are you hurt? Are you angry? Are you disappointed? And they said, I'm annoyed, hurt, angry, disappointed. And they said, I've been friends with this person for over 20 years. That's a long time to have a friendship, for this person to constantly reach out. And they said yes, particularly since they bumped into family members who kept saying, they talk about you, they say they haven't saw you for ages. And they said, I didn't feel as if I could say, yeah, but they keep saying they'll meet up with me and then they just don't turn up. So the conversation then was, so what do you do about it? And they said, I don't know whether just to not respond or whether I need to have a conversation. So I then said, what feels right for you? And they went really quiet. They said, I need to think on it. I need to think on it because I'm not somebody, they said, they would just ghost someone normally. I'd normally like to be quite upfront. I like to be quite upfront, but I feel as if what they've done is quite subtle. It's been quite underhand. It's a covert. I feel they've done a kind of covert thing here. It's been a very subtle manoeuvre. And I've not really quite cottoned on to it until now. And I was like, happens to many of us, doesn't it? Happens to many of us. So they were going to think on it. And actually they did wait until the person messaged them. And they said, quite nicely, but they said, I don't know whether meeting up is something that we should arrange, because I feel that the last few times you've not been able to follow through on it. So I think it's quite nice just to keep in contact like this, because I like hearing how you're getting on through this platform. And they left it at that. And the person came back and said, sure, no problem. And that was it. Didn't escalate into anything. But they just responded back saying, sure, no problem. And they continued to just like what they posted. But they got an understanding then of a boundary. So you don't need to come back. You don't need to ask to meet up, because I understand this is what you really want, but you haven't actually said to me. So you don't need to do an uncomfortableness here. I wonder if you can relate to any of your friendships, any of your relationships that have changed like this. And whether letting go is healthy, even if you're doing it in your own mind and you don't say to someone. Sometimes we need to walk away. Sometimes we need to let go of something the way we saw it, the way we thought of it. Because if we hold on to it, and we hold on to how it was, and we still have an expectation, this person, I did so much for this person, I was that friend for this person, and I behaved this way, gave them so much, and now look how they're behaving towards me, now look how they're treating me. I'm really hurt, I'm really disappointed. The reality is that unless we're prepared to challenge the person directly, us holding on to negativity, upset, or feeling really sad about how somebody's behaving, we never really know what the person's thinking. We don't really know what's been on, what's happened, their understanding. It might be that they've got a misconception. It might be they misunderstand. It might be that something's happened that we're not aware of. But unless we're prepared to challenge it and confront it, then we're holding on to a lot of upset. So we either let go and decide, okay, I'm disconnecting. I'm going to keep my own peace of mind. Or if that relationship is something, or a friendship is something that's so important to us that we need to have a clarity and an understanding, then maybe it's worth, in a compassionate way, in a caring way, checking in. I'm just wondering what's happened. Things seem to be different. And I think there's been a misunderstanding, or there's a miscommunication. Something's happened and I haven't quite got to grips with what it is. I'd like to know, because I value what we had. I feel that our relationship was very different. I feel that there was I invested a lot in our relationship and what happened before. And now things seem to be very different. Especially if you feel that the relationship's not just impacted on us. Maybe it's impacted in people around us, family, friends, and maybe we feel that we want to get some understanding. It's all about communication. It's all about understanding how to move things forward, because often we hold on to negativity and a lot of unhelpful feelings because of misunderstandings and miscommunication. Friendships, relationships, communication, they can either grow and be really improved by communicating, or they can have clarity. At least then we know what somebody's thinking if we ask. But if you don't ask, then we're left stuck. And often when we do ask, then at least we have some understanding. Some people say, oh, I don't want to know. I don't want to go there. Then I guess let go. Let go of what you're thinking. Let go of what you're feeling. Because the only person it's actually affecting negatively is yourself. If you're holding on to negative feelings, it's only harming you. We never get anywhere positive if you hold on to grudges and bad feelings or negativity. Relationships are how we connect, isn't it? It's how we get a sense of who we are. We surround ourselves with people who give us a lot of understanding and information about who we are and how they see us. We surround ourselves often, we are attracted to people that are like-minded, or people that can challenge us and help us to grow in different ways. That's why if someone no longer connects with us in the same way, it often gives us a sense of questioning of why. And we ask ourselves, what does that say about me? People ask me, why do I feel this way? Why am I reacting this way? It's often because we're questioning, what does this mean for me? What does this say about me? Ask yourself, if you've been connecting with someone with good intentions, if you've been connecting with them with care and consideration because they matter to you, that's all that matters. And if you're looking at a friendship or a relationship, if you're looking at that and seeing that it maybe no longer is serving you or them well, if you've outgrown that, why would you not say, well, I can see what we gained from being in each other's lives. I can understand how I've learned about myself and learned how to be around people just like you. And I'm grateful for what I've learned. But I can understand that maybe this person, this relationship, maybe they're not meant to continue through my life. Maybe they're meant to visit my life for a short period of time. We often think that people come into our life and stay in our life. But sometimes in friendships and relationships, people are just there for a short period of time. And they help us to grow and learn about ourselves. And also to learn about situations. But they're not necessarily going to be there to witness the whole of our life. Letting go is part of being human. It's part of what makes us being human. And it helps us to build resilience, strength, and confidence. Thanks for listening. Hope you found that interesting. Until next time, take good care.